Okay, we're going to look now at how we will plot for Pacific tides. Now, with our UK tides, UK European tides, we had different graphs for different standard ports. With Pacific tides, there is just one standard graph that you use. And we're going to have a look at it here. The important thing to notice with the graph is that we have -5 hours through to -7 hours that's covered by the curve, the tidal curve. That indicates to us that when we calculate the time difference between low water and high water, it must fall between 5 hours and 7 hours. If it's less than 5 or more than 7, we cannot use the tide table, the graph here, to plot what we want to find out. So that's the first thing you need to know, that when you're calculating the time difference between low and high water, the relevant low and high water, whether that be for a standard port or a secondary port, once you've got that time difference, it has to fall between 5 and 7 hours. So just a couple of examples here. Low water we had 0355, high water 1021. The difference is 6 hours 26. 1021 to 1610, difference 549. So those times fall in the right area. So if we looked at 6 hours 26, we'd go along to 6, between 6 and 7, and we'd have to gauge 6:26. So it would be more or less halfway between these two curves, and whether that's before high water or after high water. If it was after high water, we'd come this side and we'd go about halfway. 5 hours 49, 5 towards 6. Again, we have to accurately gauge the amount, 5 hours 49. The values to the left here, just like when we plot for UK European, low water at the bottom, high water at the top. If it's a standard port, the values that you take out from the page of high water and low water, you put the value at the low water at the bottom, high water at the top, and draw your tidal line. If it's you've got secondary port values, i.e. you've done the interpolation and the differences and got the secondary port calculations, you put secondary port low water, secondary port high water. So in the one that we've got here, 0.6 and 3.0, we would go to low water at 0.6, high water at 3.0, and you can see on this here, I've used 0.6, which is the scale at the top, so that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's also 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. Make sure that you use the right values. I've gone from 0.6 up to 3. It says 6 at the top there, but I've used the bottom, this value here, from 0 to 7, as I've used 0 to 7 on that value there. So I've drawn my tidal line. So if you wanted to calculate, say, what particular time there was a tide, you put in your high water time here. You always put in your high water time, and let's call that 1021. So you'd put in your high water time. If we wanted to, say, find the time at a tide of 2 meters, we'd go down the 2 meter line. Where it crossed our tidal line, we would go across like so, and the time we require is either going to be before or after high water. The nature of the question will indicate to us whether it's before or after high water. Let's say this was before high water. We'd come along and we'd have to now interpolate between the curves. So if say it was the time difference between high and low water was 5.5 hours, we'd go halfway between 5 and 6, which is going to be, you have to approximate, this is about there, and then you would simply come down to the value at on the bottom scale here, and that's 2 hours 20 minutes minus 2 hours 20 minutes. So we would subtract the 2 hours 20 minutes from 1021, so that would give us 0801 would be the time there that we were looking for. Similarly, if you were asked to find the height of the water, the tide, at 8:01. You'd find 8:01 along here, go up to the curve, interpolate between the values depending on what the difference was between high and low water. Ours was 5.5 hours, so again we just go halfway, go across to our tidal line, vertically up, and that would be our value. So it's fairly straightforward with Pacific. The important thing is that the time difference between low and high water must fall between 5 and 7 hours. You yourself interpolate visually to get the position you want to be in, and then you go to your tidal line or down from your tidal line across to the time. So you can either calculate the time of a particular height of water, or at what time particular height of water was, or at a particular time the height, or you're given a height of tide and asked what time it occurs. So it's a fairly straightforward plot once you've got the relevant values either for a standard port or a secondary port.